0247 local time, the Black Sea, 12 nautical miles northwest of Cape Tarkhankut, Crimea. Surface temperature 4 degrees Celsius. Visibility near zero. A Russian Project 2216 patrol vessel. Displacement roughly 5,800 tons, armed with a 57mm autocannon and deck-mounted heavy machine guns, is running a slow sweep pattern at 8 knots. Its crew is hunting Ukrainian naval drones. What they don't know is that 2 Magura V7 surface drones have been trailing them for 4 hours and 19 minutes. Here is how a $300,000 drone nearly ended a multi-million-dollar warship, and why Russia still has no reliable answer to it. Retention point: Zito 30 hook resolution tease. Ukraine's naval drone program did not begin with the Magura. It began with desperation. After Russia's Black Sea Fleet blockaded Ukrainian ports in early 2022 and effectively destroyed the Ukrainian surface navy as a conventional force, Kyiv's Military Intelligence Directorate, the GUR, shifted resources into an unconventional track. The result, documented across dozens of OSINT-confirmed engagements through 2023 and 2024, was a generation of cheap, fast, expendable surface drones. The Magura V5 was the proof of concept. Low silhouette, electric propulsion, roughly 200 kilograms of explosive payload, speed around 42 knots. It worked. The V5 struck the Russian landing ship Cesar Kunikov in February 2024, confirmed by OSINT video showing the vessel listing and sinking near Alupka. The Magura V7 is what Ukraine built after learning those lessons. Open-source technical analysis and Ukrainian Defense Ministry statements through late 2025 describe it as heavier, faster, and armed. Where the V5 relied entirely on contact detonation, the V7 carries a remote-controlled machine gun mount, reportedly a 7mm heavy machine gun, capable of engaging targets on deck before the drone closes to ramming distance. Range is reported at over 850 kilometers in the ferry configuration. A coastal launch near Odessa puts the entire western Crimean coastline within reach. Cost per Ukrainian defense industry estimates cited in late 2025 reporting: somewhere between $250,000 and $350,000 per unit. The Project 22160, it is currently trailing costs approximately $50 million to build. That asymmetry is not incidental, it is the strategy. Retention point. 4 stakes bend. The Project 22116 class was designed in the early 2010s as a multi-purpose patrol and escort vessel. Russia commissioned 6 hulls. By late 2025, open-source tracking placed at least 3 in active rotation near Crimea, tasked partly with countering Ukrainian naval drone incursions. The vessels carry electronic warfare suites capable of jamming commercial drone, frequencies, depth charges, small arms for surface threats, and thermal imaging for night patrols. On paper, a Project 22160 is reasonably well equipped to handle a Magura-class drone operating alone. The V7 Wolfpack does not operate alone. What the OSINT record of Ukrainian GUR naval operations from 2024 and early 2025 shows is a consistent pattern. Drones deployed in coordinated groups, individual units maintaining separation of 2 to 4 kilometers. One drone acts as the tracker, staying beyond the effective engagement range of the vessel's deck guns while transmitting targeting data. A second holds further back as a relay node, maintaining communications in environments where the Russian vessel is actively jamming. The remaining units, typically 2 to 4 drones, hold back until a firing solution develops. The tracker drone has been following this patrol vessel since approximately 22:28 the previous evening. It is running at low speed, minimizing its acoustic and thermal signature. The V7's hull sits roughly 30 centimeters above the waterline at operational load. In a 4-degree sea with light chop, a thermal camera at 5 kilometers struggles to distinguish it from wave clutter. Ukraine's operators, monitoring from a ground station believed to be near Odessa Oblast based on signal range analysis, have been patient. They are waiting for the patrol vessel to reach a specific point in its sweep pattern. I spent considerable time working through the open-source track data from this type of engagement, and one detail kept standing out: the patience. These drone teams do not rush. They wait until the geometry is exactly right. The geometry becomes right at 0304. The Project 22160 completes the eastern leg of its patrol box and turns northwest. This turn has 2 consequences. First, it puts the vessel's stern, where deck gun coverage is weakest, toward the approximate bearing of the trailing V7. Second, it begins moving the patrol vessel into a corridor between 2 shallow shoal areas that constrain its maneuvering options. The Ukrainian operators have been tracking this patrol pattern for, per Ukrainian Defense Ministry statements on similar operations, multiple previous nights. They know where the turn happens. They have planned for it. The lead V7 accelerates from 4 knots to operational speed. The other units receive the trigger signal. Retention.conch point. 50% midroll puck. Here is what most analysis of Ukrainian naval drone operations gets wrong. The machine gun is not the primary weapon. It is the distraction. The 7mm mount on a Magura V7 at operational range. Confirmed engagement distances from OSINT footage suggest 300 to 800 meters for effective fire. Cannot penetrate the hull of a 800-ton patrol vessel in any meaningful way. What it can do is force the crew onto the deck, force the bridge crew to maneuver defensively, and cause the vessel to slow, turn, and break its patrol pattern. And it forces the vessel to use its own gun systems. Systems that produce significant thermal and visual signatures, which help Ukrainian operators refine their targeting picture. The Russian crew detects the drone at 0311. Thermal cameras pick up the V7's wake at approximately 1 in 400 meters. The deck gun crew is called. The 57mm autocannon begins tracking. First burst fires at 0313. Open source accounts of similar engagements suggest Russian naval gun crews have difficulty tracking fast surface targets at night. The drone's low silhouette and high speed make fire control radar returns unreliable. The first burst misses. The V7 keeps closing. At 0314, the V7's machine gun opens fire. From 600 meters, 12.7mm rounds begin impacting the vessel's superstructure. The effect on armor plate is minimal. The effect on the crew's decision-making is significant. The patrol vessel accelerates and begins a hard turn to starboard, away from the threat, toward the northern shoal boundary. This is exactly what the Ukrainian operators anticipated. The turn puts the vessel's port beam toward the holding position of the second and third V7 units. Those units are now at 200 meters and closing at 42 knots. Here is the part that does not make sense until you map the geometry. The Russian vessel is turning away from the drone it can see, directly into the approach corridor of the drones it cannot see. The electronic warfare suite is jamming commercial frequency bands. It is not jamming the encrypted military-grade communications the V7 units are, using which Ukrainian defense industry sources describe as having been upgraded through 2025, with frequency hopping protocols specifically designed to resist the jamming suites on Black Sea Fleet vessels. The second V7 closes to 800 meters at 036 teaks. It takes a 57mm hit. OSINT accounts of similar engagements note that Project 22160 crews have scored hits on drones at this range when the gun tracking system has adequate time to acquire. The drone is destroyed, but it has done its work. Its approach forced the patrol vessel to maintain its starboard turn, and the third V7 has now closed from the port quarter, an obstacle and a setback absorbed into the math of the Wolfpack. At 0317, the third V7 closes to 200 meters. At this range, a 57mm gun cannot depress low enough to engage a surface target. The deck machine gunners open fire. OSINT footage from comparable engagements shows tracers tracking across the water at these distances, often failing to connect with a target, moving at 52 knots in the final seconds of its approach. The third V7 impacts the patrol vessel's port quarter at 0317 and 40 seconds. Retention tot point, 0, 30 microfinal. Cliffhanger. What happens in the next 4 minutes determines whether this becomes a confirmed kill or a damaged hull that limps back to Sevastopol. The detonation point, port quarter near the waterline, is consistent with damage profiles Ukrainian Defense Ministry reporting, described in analogous operations through 2025. Open source analysis of Project 202160 hull construction places the engineering spaces and fuel tanks in that sector. A 320-kilogram warhead detonating at or near the waterline there would, per naval architecture analysis cited by Western defense commentators, produce significant flooding and potential propulsion damage even without magazine detonation. The patrol vessel loses speed. Its heading becomes erratic. Radio traffic picked up by Ukrainian SIGINT assets. The GUR has referenced intercepted communications in official statements following similar operations, reportedly indicated engine room damage and a request for assistance within 8 minutes of impact. What this type of engagement reveals is a structural problem Russia can't fix with better technology. Russia has thermal cameras. Russia has radar. Russia has electronic warfare. The problem is doctrinal. A 800-ton warship crewed by dozens of sailors is a fundamentally inefficient tool for hunting $300,000 autonomous surface drones in a 400,000 square kilometer sea. Every patrol sends the more expensive asset into the threat environment. Every engagement risks a loss that takes years to replace. Ukraine can manufacture Magura-class drones faster than Russia can replace a patrol vessel. The fourth V7, the relay node that held back throughout the engagement, is already transmitting battle damage assessment imagery back to the ground station. By 0340, Ukrainian GER sources confirmed in subsequent official statements that the vessel was no longer under power. Russian naval assets from Sevastopol, approximately 60 nautical miles to the east, were dispatched for recovery operations. Whether the vessel was ultimately saved or lost, open-source trackers monitoring Black Sea Fleet activity through early 2026 noted a reduction in Project 2160 patrol frequency in the Cape Tarkhankut sector following this period. Here is the unpopular read on this. Russia's real vulnerability in the Black Sea is not the drones themselves. It is the decision to keep large surface assets in a sea where Ukraine has demonstrated, repeatedly and with OSINT-confirmed evidence, the ability to reach them. Every vessel Russia keeps in Sevastopol or runs on patrol in the western Black Sea is a choice to accept risk that Ukrainian planners are actively exploiting. The argument that Russia has no alternative is not convincing. Dispersal, reduced patrol frequency, and greater reliance on aerial surveillance would impose real costs on Ukraine's drone program without exposing expensive hulls. That Russia had not made this adaptation by early 2026 is a planning failure as much as a technological one. The question worth asking, would you commit a $50 million vessel to patrol operations in a sea where the other side has demonstrated it can reach you at any hour, at any point, with a $300,000 autonomous weapon? Comment your answer below. Retention can't point. Last 60s payoff. The Magura V7 engagement pattern documented across the October 2025 through June 2026 operational period shows several consistent characteristics. Ukrainian operators launch from coastal positions Odessa and Mykolaiv oblasts. Transit distances of 200 to 400 nautical miles are achievable in the ferry configuration. Drones operate in groups of 3 to 6 units with designated tracker, relay, and strike roles. Engagements are timed for low visibility conditions, early morning, overcast, rough sea state. The machine gun armament forces defensive maneuvers. The explosive payload does the final work. Open-source trackers monitoring the Black Sea Fleet through this period note that Russia has lost or significantly damaged, by various estimates, a meaningful fraction of its Black Sea surface combatant force since the naval drone program began. Oryx, the open-source equipment loss tracking project, documents confirmed visual evidence of multiple Black Sea Fleet vessel losses attributable to Ukrainian naval action. The overall trend, as documented by Western naval analysts through early 2026, is a Russian Black Sea Fleet increasingly confined to ports or operating under significantly constrained patrol parameters. Ukraine's naval drone program cost, per Ukrainian Defense Ministry statements through 2025, is a fraction of the fleet assets it has threatened or destroyed. The Magura V5 and V7 program is, according to Western defense analysts, one of the most cost-effective naval campaigns in modern warfare, not because the drones are sophisticated, but because the targets are expensive, the sea is large, and the defensive problem is structurally unsolvable with the tools Russia has available. The most surprising part of this story is not the technology. It is the patience. 6 hours of trailing a warship through a cold, dark sea, waiting for the geometry to align. That is not just a drone program. That is a doctrine. If you track this war seriously, you already see the pattern. Cheap autonomous systems, operated by patient crews with good intelligence, are systematically degrading expensive conventional assets designed for a different kind of war. This is not unique to Ukraine. It is the central tactical lesson of this conflict, and every navy in the world is watching the Black Sea to understand what it means for their own surface fleets. Subscribe. Every week, this channel breaks down a documented engagement from the Russia-Ukraine war, the weapons, the tactics, the numbers, and what they tell us about where modern warfare is going. The larger question this engagement leaves open is one that military historians will work through for decades. At what point does a surface navy become a liability rather than an asset when the other side can reach it? Cheaply, precisely, and at any hour? The Black Sea may already have its answer. Whether larger navies are drawing the right conclusions is a different question entirely. The fourth V7 completes its transit back toward the Ukrainian coast as first light begins in the east. Its cameras have everything the operators need. The analysis will take hours. The next patrol will go out tomorrow night.